Good morning, everybody. It's good to be with you. It is good to be with you. We've got a bit of a serious subject today. Let's dig into it. Good morning, everybody. We have had some interesting times the last few days with we had the Las Vegas incident, we had the New Orleans incident, and we're getting more and more information on them, and it is not looking good. It is not looking good. We we are we're on a dark path. We're on a dark path, and it's not isolated to those two incidents. We've had extremists in this country for a while. We have, but we've never really had a government or leadership that seemed to be all in on supporting them. Let me back up and tell you what I'm talking about. You remember, you've seen this picture before, I'm sure. You're savvy people. You're on social media. You've seen old Nigel Farage and Elon Musk chumming it up, palling it up. You know, Nigel Farage is one of Trump's buddies. He's Putin's pick in the UK. He's responsible for Brexit and the setbacks that Britain's had there. And Putin did really well in the UK. He's got a lot of support there. They London has carried the nickname Londongrad for a while now. I mean, there's a lot of Russian influence in the UK. And Trump loves Nigel Farage, and Elon Musk has been uh, funding, getting together with, and funding a lot of political activity in the UK. But and that's how it started. I mean, you got that bromance with Musk and Farage standing together and looking like they're going to chum it up, and looking like Nigel Farage is going to just suddenly have a sugar daddy that's going to bankroll all his wet dreams. And a lot of people were really stressing about that. But this is kind of how it's going today. Elon Musk loves to put out these radical tweets. This one is about Nigel Farage. The Reform Party needs a new leader. Farage doesn't have what it takes. Okay. Well, what happened? What happened? I mean, there's been many a slip betwixt the cup and a lip. I mean, but you've got and I love you people being so informed. I love you people. Yeah, the AFD in Germany too. But what happened? What happened with the bromance? I mean, Farage and Trump have a long history. You can just do a search for them on Google and just see picture after picture after picture of Farage and Trump together, and again Farage and Putin and Trump and Putin, and I mean, you got this whole love triangle thing going on, and all of a sudden Elon Musk is basically crap talking Nigel Farage. What happened? Well, this happened. Let me introduce you to Tommy Robinson. Tommy Robinson is a Brit who's in jail right now that is getting a lot of love from Elon Musk. Let me tell you just a little bit about Tommy Robinson. Um, Tommy Robinson he's violent. Back in 2005, he was arrested for assaulting a police officer. Um, in 2011, he was uh, put on police supervision for starting a soccer brawl. Um, he went to prison for using a false passport. He borrowed a friend's passport because he was banned from entering the U.S. And of course, guys like this, uh, they've got allies here in the U.S. In 2014, he went to jail for mortgage fraud. In 2021, he was uh, hit with basically was the equivalent of our protective order for a stalking prevention order is what they call it, for harassing a journalist and her partner. And recently, he has made his way into the endearing hearts of Elon Musk and right wing extremists here in the US. Elon Musk tweeted this out. See, Tommy Robinson's sitting in jail right now. And his latest claim to fame, after, that pretty extensive rap sheet, his latest claim to fame is attacking immigrants. The whole Putin play, we got to find some brown people to attack. Well, yeah, Tommy Robinson has jumped on that bandwagon and he's making a lot of noise. He's he actually made a movie that Elon Musk thought we should all watch. We should all watch. Problem is, the movie was full of shit and Tommy Robinson got sued. But Elon Musk would love for you to watch this. I mean, he tweeted this out on January 1st. You need to watch that Tommy Robinson movie and free Tommy Robinson. And Tommy Robinson's sitting in jail because he accused a Syrian teen of rape, of being a rapist. And he wasn't. It's just kind of like the old Central Park 5 thing where Donald Trump ran a full page ad calling the Central Park 5 murderers and calling for their execution, all that craziness that Donald Trump was involved in. Well, Tommy Robbins is doing the same thing to this Syrian kid who's completely innocent. The kid sues him, wins a $100,000 award, and the court tells Tommy Robinson, you can't say that anymore. Don't. Well, unlike us, the UK actually has consequences for defamation. And Tommy Robinson just kept pushing, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, they're all rapists, they're all criminals. So, of course, Elon Musk and the right absolutely love Tommy Robinson. They're absolutely calling for Tommy Robinson to be let out of prison. Why would you put that guy in jail? I mean, he's a good guy, right? I mean, all he is a liar and a criminal and, our people. Yeah. And this is the guy that sits next to the incoming president of the United States and whispers in his ear. One of Donald Trump's biggest backers. We've always had extremists. We've always had violent people. And oh, by the way, just as a side note, Elon Musk told King Charles he needs to disband his parliament because he's just not liking the way things are going politically there. I mean, as a side note to all of this, to this embrace of this insanity and radicalization that's going on with Elon Musk. Elon Musk tells King Charles he should disband his parliament. So, yeah, somebody tweeted out that Some nobody on X tweeted out that King Charles should disband the parliament and immediately call for new elections. And of course, Elon Musk elevated that post by retweeting it and agreeing with it by saying yes. This is the kind of thing that we didn't have in our leadership before. We've always had radicals. We've always had terrorists. We've always had people doing horrible things. Yeah, an example, 1995, Oklahoma City. This was carried out by a guy by the name of Timothy McVeigh. Y'all remember Timothy McVeigh? He was radicalized, uh, engaged in with the white supremacist movement here in the country. We've always had these people. It's not new that we get terrorists here in the United States, or that we get people that engage in terrorism. Y'all remember Timothy McVeigh? That was done with ANFO, by the way. ANFO. It's basically a low-tech explosive. You mix ammonium nitrate, fertilizer, and diesel fuel. Took a truckload of it to do that. I want you to keep that in mind as we talk about what's going on in today's show and what kind of really has me kind of off balance today, to be honest with you. I will be honest with you. This subject has me a little bit off balance. But yeah, I want you to think about that. I mean, during all the time that we've had these radicals and all of these people, they were radicalized and they were violent. But back in 1995, who did you have? Even running the Republican Party, by today's standards, they were completely sane. Yeah, they would go speak at the John Birch Society, and they would do lip service to these radical organizations, but they never promoted the violence. They never promoted the ideology. They never promoted any of that. They spoke against it. They spoke against political violence. They spoke against those kinds of things. You didn't have leaders sitting with people accused of violence on January 6th and insurrection on January 6th. You didn't have political leaders sitting in mock jails with an actual defendant praying, calling them victims. This was done openly. This was done on purpose. This was done on purpose. And while we talk about this today, I want you to think about this. Trump is going to pardon these people. He's going to pardon these people. There's always been bigots. There's always been racists. There just have. The Klan's always been part of this whole movement. It was with the Dixiecrats, prior to the 60s, and then they switched parties and became Republicans. None of that ever went away. But it wasn't in your face. It wasn't something that they said, hey, let's do this. And yeah, you had books like the Turner Diaries. Thanks, Jason, right? I mean, this stuff's always existed. But this is kind of what has me off balance a little bit. Every New Year's, every 4th of July, you could set your clock by it. And we've got some nurses in the audience. They'll tell you about it. You get stuff like this. You get stuff like this every 4th of July, every New Year. And I mean, it's sad. You get people, hillbillies out there. That boy, family member, took a 1-inch steel pipe, stuck it in the ground, filled it with black powder, set it off the first time, and whoosh, made a big, spray, which it will. In this country, explosives are nothing new. I mean, like you said, ammonium nitrate and diesel, fertilizer and diesel, readily available all over the place. But it's low tech. That's the kind of stuff you see in the Turner Diaries. Just low tech crap like that. And hillbillies have always been made easily. Hillbilly firecrackers, man. Hillbilly firecrackers. You see these things all over the place. Every single July 4th and New Year's Day, the emergency rooms fill up with people that make these. They do. It's just not uncommon. And that's the message I'm trying to get to you. We've always had, to some degree, radicals, terrorists, bigots, racists. It's been part of who we are. Mike Monday, a president can't pardon state crimes, only federal. Correct. Correct. But the January 6th defendants were prosecuted under federal crime. You've never had anybody just openly just tell and I want you to kind of put a pin in that as we talk about some of the things that we found out. Some of the things that have gone on. We talked about that moron in Las Vegas. Full of conspiracy theories. And this is what I'm getting to, part of what's starting to really unnerve me a little bit. We talked about that moron in Las Vegas. Amen, Rich. Thanks for the support. And bigots got comfortable with Trump and took their hoods off. Yeah. Yeah, that's part of what we're talking about here. That's part of what we're talking about. But believe me, you're going to want to hang out for this. Again, we had, Libel's Burger in Vegas, and everybody wants to. We wasted so much time and energy talking about that guy because everybody was, the Schadenfreude of watching the Tesla. We've seen the things on the Cybertruck go up in flames, and the Schadenfreude people have had with making the jokes on social media because people hate Elon Musk. Making the jokes about good job, Elon Musk, making cars where you can't tell whether it was a car bomb or just your car burning up. Great job. I mean, people have really enjoyed talking about that and spent tons of time talking about that. But as I put on social media, taking a lot of grief for, that guy was he's a sick, radical, Trumper, MAGA freak. He hates us Democrats. He thinks that we Democrats should be attacked, stuff like that. But his actual act wasn't really meant to be an act of terrorism. He was trying to martyr himself is what he was trying to do. Trying to start a civil war, according to his manifesto. He was trying to call Trump's attention. That's why he went to the Trump Hotel. To all his nutter crazy conspiracy theories. And that's part of the problem I want to talk about is we've never really had this before. Remember when we always thought, man, the internet's going to be amazing. It's going to be great. Part of the problems we've always had is just not information not being readily available to people. Yeah, that wasn't it. Now, I said it 100 times. That wasn't it. Because, man, the information that's out there, we're having a radicalization problem. And it's just bad news on so many fronts. Like Leibelsberger. He believes some of the most insane, crazy, nutter crap. Just crazy stuff. And that's going to be a theme through the people we talk about today. Is they all have their heads filled with this right-wing garbage. They're just radicalized through insanity, and then we have this leadership that's embracing this insanity, and it's just really it's a problem. It is a problem, folks, um, because not only that, we're finding out we just had another guy arrested. Fortunately, they got to him before he did anything. Let me introduce you to Brad Spafford. 1 second. One second. Give me a second to pull this up. This is Brad Spafford. He was just arrested in Virginia. This guy blew 3 of his fingers off, man. That's not why he got arrested. He got arrested because his neighbor turned him in because this guy, again, believing insane radical conspiracy theories. Telling his neighbor he wants to mount 50 caliber machine guns to the roof of his house for protection, and that the government is abducting children to train them to become uh, school shooters. That's where the school shooters were coming from. The government was abducting children and training them to become school shooters. And then had set up, every hillbilly like me, we got a target area back there that we can set up. And when we do, I have just targets. I don't put people targets up. I don't. This had Joe Biden targets. I mean, he was just really, really, really out there as far as his beliefs, but that's not it. That's not it. He works in a machine shop and he's got a hobby. Well, they went out there and arrested him based on a tip they got. He had the largest cache of improvised explosive devices and pipe bombs ever seized. I want you to notice something about this picture. It's important. I want you to notice. Remember that first pipe bomb picture I showed you? They've been making hillbilly firecrackers forever. They have. But that's what they look like. You go down to the store and you get the thread-on pipe and you just drill a hole in one end, stick a wick in it. I want you to notice these. These are not that. These are PVC. They're PVC. I'll explain in a minute why that shows a bit of technical expertise on this guy's part and why that's a problem. Cantissa, thank you. McLeod doesn't work for me either. I missed the first comment. I'm sorry. Barb, thanks for the support. Thank you. But yeah, I mean, this guy got hit had the largest cache of IEDs ever seized here in the United States. And he's got a head full of these radical ass conspiracy theories, but it's beyond just making pipe bombs. And again, he believed this stuff. I mean, this is stuff that this is part of the court record that witnesses have said. And Mr. Spafford, who worked at a machine shop, had also said that missing children in the news had been taken by the federal government to be trained as school shooters, according to court papers. But this is where it gets really just terrifying. Just terrifying. He made an explosive compound on his own called HMTD. It's not your usual run of the mill, like I said, Turner Diaries and Timothy McVeigh and all the right wingers, they've known about ANFO forever. fertilizer and diesel fuel. They've known it, but like I said, it took a truckload to do what he did. HMTD is a lot more complex. You've got to cook it. And this guy, like I said, blew off 3 of his fingers and kept cooking it. But that's not where the scary part ends. Several bombs were found loaded into a wearable vest, said the court papers. More bombs were found completely unsecured in a backpack. The exterior of the backpack was labeled #NoLivesMatter. That's a big deal because the whole No Lives Matter thing is a white racist movement that promotes terrorism. I mean, just let that sink in. In this environment, in the right-wing bubble with the crazy misinformation about the eating the dogs and eating the cats. You got Elon Musk promoting movies that are, banned in the UK for being false. But, you got Elon Musk sitting in the White House running Doge, sitting next to the president-elect promoting radical crap. I mean, this is the environment that these people are living in now. And we got this guy, and then no one seems to be getting it. No one seems to be understanding the terrain for which we currently find ourselves deployed. the education system has been a thorn in the bigot's side ever since the integration of the 50s and 70s school vouchers. Dumbing that down was the goal. Yeah, that is part of it. The oligarchs destroying our education system is top priority for the oligarchs. I'll tell you, it bothers me. It bothered me. One, the explosive this guy was making, but in and of itself, it again is basically just one step above ANFO. I mean, it's not really that technically. It takes more technical expertise. It's made out of stuff you can order on Amazon. Things that have different, like citric acid goes into it. You can buy citric acid. They put it in candy. Homemade candy makers and stuff like that. You can buy citric acid by tons. The fuel in it is a fuel that they sell fire starter tablets for campers. You can buy those by the pound. Again, not really technically that difficult to make it. It becomes really unstable, and you've got to have some extra. Hence the fact that he blew 3 of his fingers off. Can't test it. Elon Musk needs to move to Mars. But it does require, you notice, like I said, they were PVC because HMTD reacts with different metals. He had some training, and he was part of this radical ass movement, which is enough for you to understand that this guy probably needs to be off the streets, right? I mean, this guy, they has made a suicide vest, basically. I shouldn't have said that. If the live goes down, we'll bring it back up. We'll bring up another one. But he made a vest to be stuffed with explosives. I mean, this guy's out there, right? But the judge thinks, this is what his lawyer argues first, that there's not a shred of evidence in the record that Mr. Spafford ever threatened anyone, and the contention that someone might be in danger because of their political views and comments is nonsensical. That's crazy. Just crazy. The federal judge overseeing the case ordered that Mr. Spafford be released with electronic monitoring. Yeah. However, the federal government did step in and filed a motion and had that set aside, and they're holding him while they can argue why he shouldn't be released. We've got a problem. We've got a federal judge in Virginia that thinks Spafford should be released with an ankle monitor. I mean, you know, I don't know, folks. Am I overreacting by this whole culture kind of scaring the crap out of me? And that's not the end of it, folks. I mean, it gets worse. William J. Atheist, thank you for the support, man. I'm glad you're always here. Every society has 1% to 2% nutballers. The problem here is in America, they gave them the keys. Yeah, that's the whole point. That's the whole point. This is really this Trump regime and the just every signal they're sending, everything that they say, and the corporate media just going along with the radicalization. We're heading to some dangerous and dark times, and it is showing. It is really showing, and it is much more. It is getting to be much more problematic because we've got more information on the New Orleans attacker. I agree with you, Lori. I agree with you. Somebody with those kind of beliefs and that kind of, I mean, we need institutions back. We need mental institutions back. We do. I understand there were some abuses with them, and I know they weren't cheap. They were expensive. But yeah, we need mental institutions back. We need someplace to put someone that believes the government is abducting children to train them to be school shooters. I mean, and is making bombs, is manufacturing large quantities of bombs. But it's getting worse, folks. It's getting worse. Y'all remember Shamsuddin Jabbar, the New Orleans attacker. Well, we're starting to fill in the blanks on Jabbar here, and it's not good news. It is not good news at all. Thanks for the support, Amy. I appreciate you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Pamela. I do appreciate you. I do appreciate you. And I'm glad to see, and I'm reading in the chat as we go, forgive the pauses, but I'm glad to see that y'all, I'm not on my own here, that we need to bring in mental institutions back. Because let me tell you, just some background information. This is what happened with Shamsuddin Jabbar. They raided his house. They found it and they went to his residence and not raided, but they basically tore a hole in the side of his house that he was renting. This was his trailer that he was renting, and found bomb making material there. You remember during the attack, it wasn't just a vehicle attack. There were two improvised explosive devices that they didn't say much about, and they weren't exactly sure they were tied to him. Yeah, they were tied to him. Definitely, they were tied to him. They found bomb making materials at his home. They found it. And this is mind blowing. Also, he had rented a place in New Orleans. They found bomb making material there. He basically got an Airbnb and set it on fire to cover his tracks, to cover the evidence of what he was doing. And apparently this guy's not a really good bomb maker, because he set fire to the Airbnb he was staying in to cover up the evidence, but the fire burned itself out. He started it, left, the fire burned itself out, didn't spread to all the rooms where all the evidence was. And what the police found has them spooked, very spooked. So Jabbar didn't start out a radical. He's homegrown, born in Beaumont. Um, he converted to Islam, but even when his father converted to Islam when he was younger, when he was a child, but everybody that knew him said he wasn't a radical. He wasn't a radical. But that's not the problem. That's not how this works. These suicide bombers, these terrorists aren't, they don't come out with a big T on their forehead. They don't. They're pretty normal people for most of their lives. Even the ones in the Middle East, they're not always born into that radicalization. They're just not. Thank you for the support, guys. I really appreciate you. Happy New Year to you too, Kit. I appreciate the support. I really do. Thank you, Randy. If you see something, say something. Thank God. That's what happened in Virginia. The neighbor put on, he was a former cop. He put on surveillance. He knew how to put on surveillance equipment on and went over there and talked to this guy and got the information people needed to act on it before he could put that backpack to use or he could put that vest to use. So, yeah, if you see something, say something. But back to Jabbar. He was broke. He was broke. He went through 3 marriages, ended up with tons of child support out of these 3 marriages. In 2022, he was over $27,000 behind on his mortgage. He ended up moving to that trailer and renting that trailer in 2023. And then out of the blue in 2023, this guy he's been Muslim his whole life. I mean, he was born a Christian, converted as a child when his father converted over to Islam, but never been radical. His neighbors that he grew up with that they've interviewed said they've never even heard him mention the word Allah. I mean, he just wasn't, for the lack of a better way to put it, he wasn't a radicalized Muslim ever. Throughout his whole life, people that served with him in the army say, he was a normal guy. He was a normal guy. Guy you could have beers with. Then his life didn't turn out like he expected. He went through one divorce and then another divorce, then another divorce. He'd gone to college. He had a good job. He was working for Deloitte. He was you folks probably know who Deloitte is. It's one of the largest accounting firms in the world. He had a good job, but he just had so many poor financial decisions. And his ex-wife, in court filings when she divorced him, talked about there were massive cash withdrawals, and apparently there was a lot of infidelity and girlfriends, and he just made bad choice after bad choice after bad choice. Lost his house, and then in 2023, he moves into this trailer, and this trailer park is in a Muslim community. You saw that it was fenced off there. It's a fenced off community, a Muslim community. And then it all went south. Somehow a guy that's broke, massively in debt, lost his house, took a month-long trip to Egypt. Must be nice. Must be nice. Then he went and, his family's like, hey, dude, how you doing this? He said, oh, well, it's cheap. It's cheap. Trust me, there's nothing cheap about a month-long trip to Egypt at all. And they're believing that that's what accelerated his radicalization, because during that time he started to become extremely anti-alcohol, extremely and it's really common with extremely conservative Muslims. They don't like rap music. There's some Muslim sects don't believe you should play an instrument. They believe that the Prophet Muhammad has told them that you shouldn't play instruments because it just leads to immoral behavior. And people stop recognizing him. And of course, when he carried out this attack on Bourbon Street, starting to make more sense why he attacked Bourbon Street. Um, he had an ISIS flag on the back of his truck. But that's not the part that is really spooking law enforcement. One, yeah, that he's a homegrown radicalized terrorist. That in and of itself, that's a nightmare that keeps law enforcement awake. It just is. They worry about that more than anything because we are a country of 330 million people. They've always been afraid of these homegrown terrorists because they know they can't see him coming. They just can't see him coming. Signal intelligence doesn't really work without us giving up a lot of our freedoms and giving the government the ability to just listen to everybody. But there's one other thing that really scared the hell out of him, and this is going to sound like it's coming out of left field, but this is the Russian submarine, the Kursk. Russian submarine, the Kursk. It was when it was made about the middle of the last century, one of the most advanced badass submarines on the face of the planet. It really was. It was a technological terror. It was an incredible piece of technology, but it sunk, and it sunk for probably one of the stupidest reasons. The Russians like to use torpedoes that run on hydrogen peroxide to be specific. See, high test hydrogen peroxide um, reacts to copper like crazy. I mean, you don't need oxygen because it is hydrogen peroxide. It's got its own oxidizer in it. So they use it for fuel. Yeah, the same hydrogen peroxide you've got in your cabinet. It's just a more concentrated version of it. That stuff is highly volatile. And they had a brand new submarine a brand new torpedo that had they cracked the casing on it when they loaded it, and it had a fuel leak. And that fuel leak caused the hydrogen peroxide to explode, which caused chain reaction explosions to occur and sank a submarine. That's how powerful, that's how much energy is stored in hydrogen peroxide. And it's not a joke, folks. Have you ever seen those warnings on cleaning supplies? Have you ever heard this? This is something that I never really paid much attention to till I started really digging into this story. Yeah, they tell you to throw your old cleaning supplies out. You've heard that before, right? I mean, I've heard it. I always thought it was stupid. Why would you throw old cleaning supplies away? It's dumb. I mean, they're cleaning supplies. And again, yeah, I love how informed you folks are. Don't mix soaps. Don't do it. Don't do it. You can make some very deadly gases by mixing the wrong cleaning supplies. I was kind of stupidly unaware, even though I was aware of a lot of these explosives. I knew about the curse forever. I mean, it was a history thing, and I knew hydrogen peroxide, but it didn't really occur to me that they were telling me throw your old household cleaners away. I'm going somewhere with this. Stay with me. ET, they say law enforcement, are blind to their whiteness. As Malcolm Nance pointed out in his last book, when your enemy can get into the backstab range. Yeah, that is a problem. You've got a lot of law enforcement that are involved in these radical movements. That is another problem. Thank you for bringing it up, ET. It is. Evans says you have to dispose of them properly. Delaware, as it has a department for it. Yeah, Exactly. And I mean it when I say it, because look, this happened. This happened. When I was researching this, and there was a reason I was looking at hydrogen peroxide. You had a lab, an undergraduate researcher in a lab who was working with a rotovap, and she was using some older chemicals. This is a rotovap, by the way. You may have seen one before. It's that device that sits there and it has the flask on one end that turns, and it's got a pool, a pot of hot water, boiling hot water on one end with the flask that sits in it. Um, and it is used to evaporate chemicals. See, it's got a vacuum pump on it. They're right in the middle. It's got a vacuum pump on it. And when you put a chemical under a vacuum, the temperature at which it takes to boil it and cause evaporation drops. You can boil it at much lower temperature, so they can have something like a rotovap, which has basically just a boiling pot of water on one end, heating a flask, and then it turns, which increases the surface area exposed to that heat, and you can distill components that are chemically kept in solvents. They're kept in solvents. Basically, this is just a really fancy way of saying, when you're cooking like a stew or a soup or something, you let it boil, you let it cook down, you let the flavors intensify. That's the exact same thing. Just fancy chemistry way of saying it. Thanks for saying it, good citizen. I appreciate you. It's just the exact same thing, but just with different chemicals. She was working with a chemical that had peroxide in it. Well, peroxide will form crystals when it ages, and she didn't follow guidelines. The lab that she was working in didn't follow guidelines and pitch out the old hydrogen, and it formed crystals. Well, those crystals are highly volatile. They'll explode, and that's what happened to her. It blew up in her face. Thank God she was wearing her safety glasses. But that's how reactive hydrogen is. And that is what is so scary about Shamsuddin Jabbar, is the explosives that were in the IEDs. They didn't not go off because they wouldn't have worked. They would have worked. They would have. And he was trained by the Army as a signalman. He made a transmitter with fuses, remote fuses, to set these things off. Fortunately, he didn't have a good plan. And after he did this, after he killed all of those people with his truck, which is another thing that is really spooking law enforcement, because, this is what they're training their people to do now when they're radicalizing. It happened in the Christmas market in Germany. They're using vehicles as weapons. Everything we do in our society is designed to make it easy for vehicles to get around. They're using vehicles as weapons. But what really, there's so many layers of this that has law enforcement just freaked out. One, he's homegrown. Two, he's using a vehicle, which is something they've been panicking about anyway. But three, it was the explosives. They didn't tell us what kind, but I've been able to kind of deduce from the statements they've made. It's an explosive that's never been used in the United States before, ever. But from the statements they made about what they found at his Airbnb, and the statements they made about what they had at his house, and the statements they made about the fact that it is an explosive used in IEDs, but has not been used here in America before, I've been able to knowing a little bit about explosives and things, kind of figured out, I don't know this for a fact, but I would bet you this hat. I would bet you that it was triacetone triperoxide, which is made with hydrogen peroxide. He was cooking. He had thermometers. He was cooking it down. They distill it. You know, Breaking Bad. Remember the show Breaking Bad where they distill it down into glass? They do the same thing with hydrogen peroxide, basically. Mix it with acetone, which is all of which is just readily available. But it's not used. It's not typical. It's never been used here in the United States. It was used in the 2015 Paris attacks. Remember the theater attack in Paris with the explosives there off Saint Denis? And then there were terrorist attacks in Belgium that were ISIS related, also used TATP. But yeah, this has them very spooked because somehow this guy was taught how to cook. And this is the next level beyond what Brad Spafford was using. It is more difficult to make than the HMTD that Brad Spafford was using. And this is what has them freaked out. Because for all intents and purposes, I know I use this word a lot, but I mean it. This guy was a moron. And he was able to successfully cook a very high-end explosive. I mean, this stuff's volatile. I mean, you can set it off with a hammer. I mean, it is volatile. And thank God, like I said, he was an idiot and didn't have a good plan. After he did what he did, he jumped out and ended up in a shootout with the police instead of settling. Thank God, because he'd taken these devices, put them in coolers, and set them in different places on Bourbon Street. Could you imagine had there been secondary explosions? And that would have been a big boom, folks. I mean, this is powerful, powerful stuff. Let me give you an idea how powerful this stuff is. You remember this moron? You remember this moron? Richard Reed, the shoe bomber? Yeah, that's what was in his shoe. TATP. Stuff is no joke. He had enough explosives hidden in the sole of a shoe to rip apart an airliner. That's how little it takes. This is bad stuff. But it takes a level of expertise to learn how to cook. And this guy living in a trailer house in the suburbs of Houston somehow was trained to do this. And again, I'll just remind you what our leadership is doing. He's going to pardon radical extremists, violent extremists, anti-government extremists. And I'll take you back to Timothy McVeigh. Timothy McVeigh was cooked, and Terry Nichols were cooked up in an environment where everybody that was forward facing to a camera was saying, this is not okay. Violence is not okay. You had some fringe people. We've always had fringe people. But the president never did this. We went to war with the next Republican president that came into office after Bill Clinton back in the 90s. Went to war over extremism and terrorism. This was all supposed to, no, it's not okay. but the environment keeps getting ratcheted up and ratcheted up and ratcheted up. I mean, hell, this just happened. It's unrelated, but it's the kind of thing that we're seeing over and over again. Another soldier. This guy stole uh, um, Harris and Trump's phone records. Kamala Harris and Donald Trump's phone records, and was selling them on the dark web, trying to sell them. I mean, it's just more and more and more radicalization and more radicalization. You've got these groups that are out there, resurgences of these groups that are out there marching in public, and young people, young men, young white men usually, and people that should know better. Matthew Leibelsberger was a Green Beret. He should have known better. Yet here he is with a head full of right-wing conspiracy theory nonsense, and he gets triggered with a few bad things happening in his life. His wife is going to leave him because she caught him cheating, apparently. He had been, abusive in that respect. I mean, his first wife, people that they've contacted about his first wife said he was mentally abusive to her. Yeah, this guy goes straight to radicalization. Folks, we're heading to a very dark time. We're headed to a very dark time. It makes a difference that our leadership is what it is. Leadership matters. It does. It matters. Leadership matters. The examples they set matter. The verbiage matters. What's okay matters. What's not okay matters. So look, just to wrap this up, this is what we're heading to. This is what we're heading to. And I'm begging you. I am begging you. I will get on my knees right now if I need to. I am begging you. Please, if you're comfortable with a firearm, get some training, learn how to use one. Be willing to protect yourself and your family. Please, community up. I keep pointing out we're different. We're very different people. We're very different people. We don't like this. We don't like this. We need to make communities out of like-minded people and tighten up together because, man, I got to tell you, they're out there. The radicals are out there and they're dangerous. And there are way too many people in this country. Keep that up. I'll get to it in just a second. There are way too many people in this country that are, you see them. They would do interviews with them at Trump rallies during the campaign. Well, maybe we need to burn it down. Maybe we do need a little fascism. Maybe we need to, and that's just your lay person. Not knowing. I mean, they're spoiled. Jana Bledsoe says, Paul, how do you see the anti-Trump protests in D.C. along with pro-Trump rally panning out? I see violence that will serve Trump's first day orders. Not on our side. We're different people. We're different people. But I see their side being filled with radicals, the Proud Boys and all of these groups that they're pandering to. But yeah, we need a community up. We do. We need to stick together. We need to be tight. not just information, not just, listen to folks like me, Brando, Midas Touch, Hal Sparks. There's a lot of good people to talk to. You personally, in your environment, we need to be communitying up, tightening up, so that we can keep our beliefs and what's okay in place. Because it matters. It matters. It really does. And I'll ask you again, please, please contact your local Democratic Party. You will be shocked. If you haven't done it yet, you will be shocked at the people that are there. They're good people. They're just like you. They're working for the betterment of our country. It's your neighbors. Get involved. Just get involved. And we will make a difference. We will make a difference. We'll get through this, but we won't get through it if we all just sit at home with our only contact being the internet. And we won't. We've got to pull it together. Do it, folks. I'm begging you, do it. Cecile Kazemi, creating communities is essential. Online, friends, family, and neighborhoods, cities, states, everywhere. Amen. 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 Well, look, that's what I've got for you today. We've got plenty of time for a roundtable. Let's get into it. What questions you have, whatever you've got going on. I'm going to tell you, I've been a little short, and I guess I've got to apologize. I've been a little short because so many people were just making such a big deal over Matthew Leibelsberger, and just he's a terrorist. I'm like, oh my God! I'm sitting here researching, Shamsuddin Jabbar and Brad Spafford, and they're worried about dummy pay attention to me guy. Whiny dummy pay attention to me guy that in his own manifesto says he wasn't trying to hurt people. And meanwhile, I'm like, look, folks, we got some serious heavy hitters out there. That Leibelsberger is a freaking joke. He's a whiny ass, sorry individual. He is. He's a wannabe Trump, pay attention to me. But hell, he was even never mind. I don't want to pay too much attention to him. But yeah, that's why I was a little cranky about that. What we're finding out about Jabbar, no bueno, guys. It is no bueno. It is next level. This guy was a cook. He was a bomb maker, and a good one. If he'd had a better plan, oh my God, I can't even imagine. The devices he put together were TATP. I'm going to bet you they're TATP. We're going to find out eventually what it is. They're not telling us because they don't like to put ideas in people's head, but they were packed with nails and shrapnel, and they were encased in metal. Think Boston bombing times 10 for each device. I mean, it would have been bad if he'd have had his crap wired straight. See several people mentioning this. And yeah, and if you've got a particular product, I don't buy a lot of pepper spray. I don't. If you know a particular product that works really well, feel free to share it within the community. I 100%, 100%. If you're uncomfortable with firearms, great. Get you some pepper spray. You can carry pepper. I don't encourage people to carry weapons around. I don't. I'm not that guy. I am not that guy. I like my guns. I like my hunting. I like my sport shooting. I like to target shoot. I like all that stuff. I like guns at home for self-defense, all of that good stuff. But I'm not a, hey, slap a gun on your hip and go carry it around guy. That's that. No, I don't recommend that. Accidents happen. People are stupid. When you're carrying a hammer around with you, you'd be surprised how many nails you find. And I mean, yeah. But yeah, pepper spray for carrying around for self-defense. Amen. Amen. Um, that is expensive and proven to not be effective. Yeah. Um, dogs for home defense, get a loud yippy dog. Don't worry about going and spending thousands of dollars on a trained home defense dog. Ah, thank you. I appreciate that. That was a gift. That was actually a gift. That from a it was a painting from a guy by the name of Slaughter. I had always wanted. They had no idea I always wanted one. He's a very sought after painter. I'm from South Texas and spent a lot of time in the hill country. He painted scenes. This is what the hill country looks like, folks. That is what the Texas hill country looks like. It's gorgeous. It is gorgeous. Um, but yeah, it was a gift, a very generous gift from one of our viewers, and I'm so grateful for it. No, pepper spray isn't. I'm sorry about that. Didn't mean to take that comment down. Can you, if you get a chance, put that comment back up? I'm sorry, I had bad timing. I apologize. But no, pepper spray is not expensive, and that's one of the, and it's lightweight. And that's why, yeah, ladies, you can keep it in your purse. Absolutely, pepper spray is a good thing. Karen Miller, been to the hill country. It is beautiful. Marcia, you can get pepper spray for a few dollars, just a few dollars, because it's literally pepper extract. It's nothing expensive. Cast irons, there you go. Had a girl. That's what I'm talking about. But you understand what I'm talking about? I'm not just talking about be paranoid and arm yourself and all that. Community up, man. I mean it. I mean, we've become a fairly isolated people as of late. We don't hang out. There aren't block parties. There aren't things like that as much anymore, like we used to have. Um, we need to do that. We need to get together because nothing combats the radicalization like normalcy and daylight. Looking for a particular comment I saw. It's actually something that they'll tell you, and if you take a self-defense class, he was talking about there you go. Evie's aunt. I have heavy keys on a lanyard. I was taught to use it by law enforcement. Amen. That's what I was going to tell you. In self-defense classes, they will tell you how to use your keys. Great, great improvised weapon. It really is. Bear spray. It's just pepper spray. It's high intensity pepper spray. Um, um, that they put it in a larger can, about a hairspray size can, so you get more of it. And it's got a propellant, a nozzle on it that's designed. You know how wasp spray will shoot about 20, 25 feet? Bear spray will aerosolize to a degree, but it'll get out there a good 10, 15, 20 feet. Um, super strong. It's strong pepper spray, and you can hit a target a distance away. And there's a fairly large quantity of it in a bear spray can. That's why bear spray is not really that cheap, and it's not that practical to really carry around with you. because you imagine like an Aquanet size can, you know, but it's good stuff for around the house. It is. It's good stuff for around the house. You know where pepper spray originated? Does pepper spray go bad? No, but the can is like any aerosol can you have that sits for long enough, it'll lose compression. It'll lose compression after a while. So yeah, the spray itself doesn't really go bad, but you know where it actually like ghost peppers, you know where that comes from? India. India. They would take the peppers. It wasn't so much that they ate a lot of them because they were obnoxiously hot peppers. They would take those peppers and they would because they're you're talking about rural India. There are Indian elephants in rural India to keep the elephants from pushing down their fences and whatnot. They would smear it all over their gates and stuff. There you go, the boot jalakia. That's right, the boot jalakia pepper. Um, Massive amounts of capsaicin, and they would just spread it, and it would deter the elephants. So yeah, I don't like to do these shows where like I said, I'm not a fear monger. I don't enjoy doing these shows, but I'm telling you, these types of shows, but I'm telling you folks, we're going down a dark path. We are. We're going down a dark path. Capsaicin. Capsaicin. It's the oil, and whenever you eat a pepper that's hot, what's actually burning your mouth is an oil that's in the pepper. It's called capsaicin. The amount of capsaicin in a pepper there are actually charts you can get that'll tell you how much is in it. The more that's in it, the more it burns. That's why drinking water doesn't help when your mouth is burning, because capsaicin is an oil. And oil and water don't mix. They'll tell you drink milk because milk has fat in it, and that will help cut the capsaicin. If you can take it, the best thing to do, if you've ever done anything like somebody slipped you one of those super hot chips, or you've gone way beyond your abilities and your experimentation of trying to eat something hot, is yeah, butter is a good one. Butter's a good one. Or if you can take a mouthful of oil. Some people will try like take a mouthful of mayonnaise. Ice cream is good too because it's oil based. There's fat in it. Anything with fat will help cut it. Yeah, there you go. Pepper ball guns. 100%. 100%. I prefer mine in 9 millimeter. That was sarcasm. Yeah, I hear you. William G. says, thank you again for the support. Double support in one day. I appreciate you. Remember, Texas Paul, your government wants to keep you scared. It will always give them more control. I will tell you that is true, true, true. They're trying to really scare the crap out of people to keep us on our heels. I'm sorry, folks. I'm not there. I'm not there. I'm ready to fight it out. Any of this crap that they do, I'm ready to get behind the Democratic Party, even though I'm going to talk about it. No, I'm not. Joe Biden has made a couple moves over the last little bit that have pissed me off, and if you follow me on social media, you know I chimed in about it. But yeah, I'm 100% ride or die Democrat, and I am 100% behind look, Kareem. One second. You're not going dark. It's unfortunately the reality we're facing. Amen. Amen. There's something that I would like to see happening. You need a leader. You do. You need a leader. And I would like to see the Democratic Party coalesce behind Hakeem Jeffries. One speaker, one captain, our ships sailing all in the same direction, one admiral of our armada. And Hakeem Jeffries is smart. He's tactical. He's good at making people understand why we're doing the things we're doing, even when he has to do unpalatable things like make a deal. I would like to see us all coalescing behind Hakeem Jeffries. As much as I prefer, I mean, not prefer, wrong word. As much as I appreciate is the word I was looking for. Appreciate all of the years of service from Chuck Schumer. Um, and I think that, yeah, tactically he's smart. He is. Tactically, Chuck Schumer is smart. He really is. Um, but as far as leading the party, I don't think that Chuck Schumer can draw in the people, the support, can lend people the kind of confidence and the fight that Hakeem Jeffries can. I would like to see the party coalesce around Hakeem Jeffries. Yogi Bear, Paul, it won't be long before China will control South America. Good one to bring up in the roundtable, my friend. Let me tell you something. Elections have consequences, and this one's going to hurt. Oh, man, this is going to hurt. You know me, I like to follow a lot of different regions. I do. Um, yeah, Trump is not a leader. Trump is not bringing together coalitions anywhere. Their policies are stupid. He keeps like talking like he's a badass. China is much more subtle in their policies, and they are way ahead of us. Way ahead of us. I'm telling you, I have people in Panama. I do. And I've been talking to them about what's going on down there in Central America. And let me tell you, they're laughing at Donald Trump. Laughing at Donald Trump. They really, really are um, reacting badly to the stuff that's coming out of Trump's mouth because it is night and day between what Donald Trump is saying and what China is saying. China's our adversary. We have to, we have to compete with them. We do. And Donald Trump can't. He just can't. Oh, yeah. Steve McCloud, Trump is being played on the world stage. Oh, my God. Yeah. Everybody's laughing at Trump. People are openly bribing Trump. Openly. Just openly writing him checks because they know he's how easily manipulated and how easy, folks, you don't want your leaders to be bribable. You just don't. If you're bribable, you're not the leader. You're just a tool. The people that are bribing you are the ones in charge. They're the ones that are dictating what's going on. Oh, this is just, and China is so far ahead of us. So far ahead of us. Well, I just, again, I want you to envision you're Panamanian, okay? Just look at it from that point of view for a minute. You're Panamanian. China is loaning Panama money at dirt cheap below market interest rates. And Panama is beefing up their ports, which we desperately need to do here in the United States, their rail systems, and more importantly, their power grid. Panama is in the process of getting an all new power grid, courtesy of loans from China. Compare that to the ice bath, the freezing cold ice bath of Trump. We're going to take back that Panama Canal. We're going to take your source of revenues from you, or else you do what we want, or else. My God. And yeah, it's not just it's everywhere. And that idiot Millier from Argentina was at Mar-a-Lago the other day. Mr. Hyperinflation himself. We do, folks. We have to community up. And yes, oh God. Oh, I am so freaking pissed off. Oh, I put a post out yesterday that they needed to take grandpa's keys away. And who did I piss people off? Look, I love Joe Biden. I do. I really do. I think he's going to go down as a really great president. I really do. I think he's going to go down as a really great president. But God, let me give you an example of one of the things I'm losing my mind about. Folks, you folks in the audience know I support Israel's right to exist. I support Israel. I do. It's the one Jewish state on the face of the planet. They've been a solid ally. You know, I hate Benjamin Netanyahu and the radical right in Israel. You know that. You know that I support the Palestinian people. You know everything about me. You just do. Good God, that signing an $8.7 billion arms deal with Israel was politically one of the stupidest damn things Joe Biden could have done. Just moronic. 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 As a party, I'm talking just politics. I'm not talking about whether you think it's right or not. I'm talking strictly from the political point of view. Our party is split in half right now on that issue. And this is the part that just made me want to pour gasoline on myself and self-immolate. That's sarcasm, YouTube. Do not take my live down. That's sarcasm. What drove me nuts, the Republicans wanted this. They wanted that arms deal. Why not let them, if it's going to happen, if they have control and they're going to put that arms deal together, why not let them do it? And then negotiate something good for, I don't know, arms for Ukraine, highway funding, school funding, save the Department of Education. You want this deal for Israel. Okay, you do that. Give us what we want. That's how the sausage is made. Why did we do this? This was dumb. Just as somebody that sits here and fights for the Democratic Party, I was slamming my face on the table. The blissfully ignorant right screams America first, but they go against any infrastructure bills or any other policy that would make the U.S. more competitive. Yeah, it's always about cutting taxes for Johnny Got Rocks. That's it. Because Johnny Got Rocks cuts them checks, and it's open corruption 100%. All the time, 100%. Folks, thank you for supporting the show. I really appreciate it. I am truly grateful. You allow me to do this full time, something I could not do without you. I am very grateful. Thank you for hitting the thumbs up button. It helps us in the algorithm. And thank you for hitting the subscribe button. It is like the follow button on other social media. I am truly grateful. I am truly grateful. Exactly, Michael Z. I want my leader to be a leader too. Amen. That's why I like Hakeem Jeffries. I mean, that, forgive the expression, that dude's got balls. He does. Ryan T. Here in Florida, you can buy assault weapons, but bear spray is illegal. It's harder to buy a pseudoephedrine than a gun. As of 1 for 1, it's now illegal in Florida to get within 25 feet of a police officer when they arrest someone. Yeah, folks, we're kind of. I'm telling you, we're kind of on our own, preserving the Constitution, preserving freedoms. Preserving the country that was handed to us for our children. We're on our own. The right, they're ready to burn everything down. They're ready to burn the house down. That's why I say we have to stick together. We do. We have to stick together. As mad as I am about the stupid things like, Presidential Medal of Freedom, Chef Jose Andres. What an optic. That guy, not only should he get the Presidential Medal of Freedom, that guy should get the damn Nobel Prize. That guy he should be sainted. He should be canonized by the Catholic Church. What an optic, right? And then if you want to get political, you've got Hillary Clinton that got hers. That's a good thumb in the eye to MAGA. There were so many good people that got Presidential Medals of Freedom, and then I'm watching. But you know what went out all over Fox News and the right in that? You know what stepped on all of the messaging again? And I was just like, slamming my head on the table. Amen. Y'all saw it. They thought for some reason it was a good idea to give George Soros the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which was accepted by his son, Alex. George Soros wasn't even there. And again, I was attacked all over the right for how dare I say that President Biden did something wrong. All right, folks, we've got a scale here, a set of scales, okay? I don't care all the goody stuff that George Soros has supposedly done to earn this and this, that, and the other. I don't care about that. I'm talking politics. That's what I do here. I'm the founder of the Ride or Die Democrats. I fight every day for the Democratic Party. I fight every day to get people into the Democratic Party because I know the Democratic Party going forward is the party that is going to stand by the people. So we've got a set of scales right here in front of me. On one side, you have the benefits of giving George Soros the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and on this side, you have the negatives. Who is excited? I want to hear you people in the chat. If you are honest, good people, how many of you were excited that George Soros got the Presidential Medal of Freedom? What weight did that carry? We're going to put that on one side of the scale. And on the other side of the scale, how frickin' long have they made up crap on the right about George Soros and how he is he's the guy that funds us all, and he's the guy that we're really just doing George Soros's bidding. All of the nonsense, stupid shit that makes you scratch your head because it ain't true. Put on the left scale that every right-wing news outlet took the picture of Alex Soros getting that medal handed to him and said, told you. Please stop doing dumb shit. And people are saying, oh, well, it's not any worse than what, them giving it to, it's not any worse than them giving it to old Rush Limbaugh. Was that stupid? Yeah. Was that trash? Yeah. You're comparing what we're doing to that? No, I want to win. So many people, Linda, so many great people got go look at the list. Google the list. You know what? I'll bring the. I don't have them all memorized. I'll do it right now. Um, so many great people. Of course, I mentioned Jose Andres. Bono got one. The amazing amount of charitable work that Bono does. He deserved one. The Ashton Baldwin Center, pardon me, Ashton Baldwin Carter and the Baldwin Center got one for his charitable work. Hillary Clinton, Michael J. Fox got one. Tim Gill, Jane Goodall. Um, you know, that was that's the kind of thing. That's what these medals were meant for people like Dr. Jane Goodall that do incredible work. And if y'all don't know who Jane Goodall, she works with primates, she works with chimpanzees, she works with gorillas, she works with you'll know who she is if you Google her and see Fannie Lou Hamer, Irvin Johnson, Robert Francis Kennedy, posthumously, Ralph Lauren. Why he got one, I do not know. Not on my list. I don't know. I've heard a lot of negative things about Ralph Lauren. Just several people on the list that are Denzel Washington, Anna Winter. Just people on the list that people would be like, oh yeah, I see why they got one. But of course, Fox News, the only person that got a presidential Medal of Freedom was George Soros. Of course they are. Of course they are, Amy. Of course they are. 100%. Of course they are. But again, we've got to remember we're talking to the stupids. We're not talking to just informed people. We're not talking to people that aren't bigots. We're in a political fight, and we have to remember that. Well, folks, I hope you've enjoyed the show today. I hope I've encouraged you and illuminated a little bit the terrain in which we find ourselves deployed going forward. We're going to see a lot of radicalism. We're going to see a lot of terrorism. It matters who's president. It does. It does. You know, a lot of people like to attack the monarchy in Britain. That iconography matters. It does. When you've got a poor monarch, it reflects in the culture. It reflects in the people. Same thing with the presidency. We're headed for some tough times. We just are. And the only thing we can do is pull together tighter. Be stronger about who we are and what our beliefs are. We all do better when we all do better, and fight and fight. Day one is going to be a crap show for the Trump administration. They're going to try to put us on our heels. Don't. Lean in. Bear hug your representatives. Put your hands in their back and whisper in their ears, I got you. I got you. We're here. So that we all stay in the fight. I love you folks. So Texas Paul out. Enjoy some Texas cities at night.